Okay, so now let's look at cracking the code. It is important that we understand how secure a code is because someone might want to decrypt it. So at an early stage it is important to define how secure it is. So in this section we'll look at cracking the code. There are a few different methods that can be used for this. And one method is where Eve knows the mapping between plain text and the ciphertext. So in this case the encryption has happened and she knows that that mapping is always the same, even though that she doesn't actually know the key. She can then obviously replay that back to Alice, and Alice would think that it possibly came from Bob, and because it was actually encrypted. And this also, it is if there's a mapping between a certain word and the encryption, the ciphertext, it may be possible to actually find out what the key is. Another typical method is where Eve does an exhaustive search. In this case she has managed to get the ciphertext and then tries each of the keys within the key space until she eventually ends up with something that looks like a message. So in this case she's actually, through exhaustive searching, actually found the message. The more keys that we have, the longer it will actually take. Another method is the man in the middle, or in this case the Eve in the middle, where Eve has managed to get herself in between the communications. So Bob thinks he's communicating directly with Alice, but is actually communicating with Eve. Eve is then communicating with Alice. So there are two communication channels set up, one between Bob and Eve, and the other between Eve and Alice. So in this case, there are two keys involved. Eve generates one for Bob's communications and then generates another key for Alice. So the encryption happens, Eve then decrypts it, can read the message, and then modify it if she wants, then re-encrypts it with the new key, and then sends it to Alice. The man in the middle attack is actually one of the most difficult to overcome. Another method that Eve might use is the replay system. In this case, Bob has sent a message. Alice could then send the same message back to Alice and replay it exactly as it. This might not seem a great difficulty, but if we can imagine that if this was a bank transfer, then some money was being sent and the bank was replying back with a message saying OK or reject, then it might be possible for Eve to replay back one of those messages to Bob to pretend to be the bank. We can also have cut and paste. If Alice knows parts of the message and how they're built up, it might be possible to build the message back again from the bits of the ciphertext. So in this case, she has taken bits of ciphertext, pasted them together, and produced a completely valid ciphertext. Along with that, it might be possible for Eve to analyze the encrypted text in great detail, or the reply that she receives back from Alice, and then analyze how it was encoded. So an example of this might be for Eve to send an email to an encrypted server. Okay, so one of the most basic methods for analyzing the string